Hey guys, what's happening? I'm Nick and I want to share with you the skills, tips and techniques that have propelled my drawings from this to this in less than a year.
Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Hello guys, welcome to today's tutorial. What I'm going to be drawing for you today is a photorealistic portrait. This is a picture of me and my wife taken 14 years ago. I'm pretty sure we both look exactly the same. Not. So what I've basically done is, if I show you, I've planned out my picture using a method that I've also made a video for. So if you look down in my videos, there is a video on plotting a portrait or any drawing out to make sure that you've got correct dimensions. I've used a 4H pencil for this. It's a very light pencil. You might not be able to see all the details on the video at the moment, but what I've got is I've got the outlines of where the hair goes, the eyes, the major features. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to time-lapse the next part, but I'm going to be using this 4H pencil and I'm going to start finding the darkest areas, and I'm always going to start with the darkest areas. So areas in the ears, around the nose, around the mouth, the eyebrows, my suit here, which is actually quite dark if I show you the picture. Today's tutorial is all going to be about developing realistic skin tones, hair and fabric. There's an awful lot on this. One of the most challenging parts is actually going to be my wife's veil that you can see here on the right hand side of the page. This is actually white, and I'm not sure if any of you know, but when we are drawing we never leave anything white on the paper except for possibly a background and the highlights in the eyes. So there is going to be some value in this veil here, so that's going to be quite a challenge. But like I say, I'm going to time-lapse the next part. Once I've finished with the 4H pencil, I'll stop and have a word with you again and just show you what my next steps are. But basically I'm going to be starting with the darkest areas, and then I'm going to keep gradually building up from there. So the next pencil that I'm going to use after this is going to be a 2H. Probably see you in about a minute and a half's time. Thanks very much. Hey guys, just thought I'd check in again with you. I've started adding a little bit of value into this top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using a 2B pencil just to bring the darkness out there, just so that we can get some contrast between the side of this face and the actual jacket top, and it will also bring out this rose, this pin here. I just wanted to show you something as well. Can you see this little mark that's here? That's actually some of my blood. I was putting the pencils away yesterday and managed to stab my finger with the end of one, which I think just goes to show you how sharp some of these pencils actually are. It's very important when you're doing anything to keep these pencils nice and sharp. Luckily for me, it was on the very edge. When I frame this, the border or the edge of the frame, so I'm quite lucky. I've been trying to get it out. I'm very lucky it didn't land smack in the middle. So I'm not going to time lapse this. I'm just. So I think you can see that this is it's a fairly slow process. It's not something that I'm going to try and rush. It would be very easy here to start bearing down into the paper and going as dark as this pencil can go. I mean, I'm using a 2B here. I can go much darker than this. If I press on really hard, I can almost go black. But I don't want that. I don't want that effect on the paper. I don't want it to become a shiny surface. I don't want to damage the tooth of the paper. So I'm gradually very slowly building up the areas making sure that I'm still trying to find some areas that are darker than others. Generally speaking, the edges of things as they go away from the light tend to be darker. So I'm going to try and capture that with every pencil, even with the 2H. And I think that when you're time-lapsing the video, it looks as though the value change happens much quicker. So that's why I think it's quite important, and subsequently the reason why I guess that I've had a few comments recently saying, can I do a little bit more of the video at full speed, at normal speed rather than at time-lapse speed, just so that people can get the general idea of how these values and these tones are built up over time. You know, I'm under no illusions. I think this drawing is probably going to take me the best part of about 30 hours. I guess I've been working on this now for about 7 to 8, so we're about a quarter of the way through it. But I've stopped timing myself. I think if you look back on some of my old, my first videos when I was very new to this, it was almost a Medal of Honor. This drawing's taken me 45 hours, or this drawing's taken me 50 hours. I don't bother really timing it now, and I certainly don't post up there unless somebody asks me how long they've taken me, because every drawing's different. I don't rush through them, and I certainly don't I don't want them to be done at a breakneck speed. But then again, I'm not too worried if they do take me 20 hours, 15 hours, 30 hours, as long as the end result is something similar to what I had in mind at the start, and I've been able to pull some realism into the drawing. So I think you can see there that the values building up. I'm starting to get a really nice contrast, and for those of you out there that are trying to get a more realistic look to your drawings, those sort of photographic qualities, it really is all about the contrast. It's about balancing the lighter areas to the very darkest areas, not going too dark in areas that light's hitting, and making sure that even in those darkest areas, so for example, the darkest areas on this drawing are certainly the jacket and the hair over on the top here. So they have got to absolutely be the darkest. If there's another value in here that comes anywhere close to that, I start to lose the contrast. But also bearing in mind as to where the lightest areas are. And as I'm looking at this, the lightest areas are going to absolutely be the veil here, where I've got my blood splatter, and also the cheek here. This is very light. The chin, that's very, very light. I've got a white edge of the shirt, so a white collar there. So again, making sure I've got my very darkest areas, but also making sure that I've got my lightest areas. And if you can manage to hold those values to somewhere close, and again, I've done a video. It's one of my earlier videos, and it's actually one of my best or most successful or most viewed videos. It's got nearly 1,000 views now. It's on finding value with a value finder. What you can buy is I've not got it to hand at the minute, and I don't want to stop while I'm in the flow of this drawing, but you can buy a value finder, and it's got I think it's got 10 different values of grey, white, grey and black. And what you can do is you can find out by placing it against your reference photograph how dark you think you are compared to how dark you really are, and you can bring the values up accordingly, because quite a lot of the time, especially when you're working on a blank sheet of paper, even laying a 4H pencil down, you feel, oh, I've gone too dark, I've got too much value in there, when the reality of it is you've not gone anywhere near dark enough. So a value finder is quite important, and I will make sure that I've got that to hand the next time I start speaking on this video, and I'll just quickly show you that. But what got me onto that was understanding that you don't have to bring the value up to exactly the same level as the photograph or the reference image, as long as you've got contrast. So for example, on this jacket, some artists out there might want to go to an 8B or a 9B because it is almost black, or it is black, and you can see mine's nowhere near as dark here, but as long as I've got the contrast and this is the darkest part, even if I only go up to a 4B, as long as it is the darkest part and it stands out, it's amazing what your eyes do, and they will play a trick on you. So your eye will see this as being the darkest area, and your brain will interpret that as a black jacket. We all understand what a wedding jacket looks like, and if it's a very dark one, our brain interprets that as being a black dinner jacket, or whatever you call this. So you don't have to go as dark as the image sometimes is. Another dark area is obviously in the mouth, the eyes. So, I'm probably going to go up to a 4B in those. I might go to a 6B, depending on how it looks. But that's the beauty of adding the value gradually, rather than going to completion, which I do know there's a lot of people out there that, certainly on YouTube, a lot of the YouTube videos, and they're fantastic artists, and some of their work are unbelievable. But then what they'll do is they'll go to completion in a certain area. That really, for me, it just dictates what I've got to do on the rest of the image. So if I've gone too dark initially, let's say I've started working in the top left corner, I've then got to bring the value up of everything else around it, and possibly in some areas go darker than I wanted to. So by gradually bringing the value up, it allows me to see the whole picture developing, and allowing me to stop in a certain area when I feel I've got enough value, bring the value up in another area, and then realise, actually, I do need to go darker. It's quite amazing sometimes how, before you put some of the darkest values down, you think that, for example, in areas like this face, that you've got enough value in, and as soon as you start adding hair, or you start adding a border or a background to it, you realise that it looks fairly wishy-washy, and you certainly need to go more value, maybe adding an HB in where you thought that the 2H was dark enough, or a 2B to an area that you thought. Okay, so I've laid down some 2B there. I'm just going to take this brush now, and I'm just going to just brush in slightly, trying to avoid getting too much of the graphite going into other areas of the drawing. I don't want to lose some of the delicate work that I've done there. I'm going to come back to a 2H pencil now, so I'm going to start to gradually now build some of this cheek up. So 2H pencil's nice and sharp again. Because I've now started to build the value up around the jacket, I can now see that I can add some more value into this cheek here without losing the cheek and that definite line between the two. And what this is going to do, this is going to allow me to contour this cheek a little bit more. So getting this darkest area in here, and then being able to gradually work away from the darkest area, which is going to give me that look of a nice rounded cheek, which we all know we have on humans. Most humans, I guess some are more rounded than others. I'm going to add a little bit more value in here. So that's the process that I'm going through. I hope you found this little snippet of a video helpful. I'll time lapse a little bit more now for you, so I'll check in again with you. It'll be a few hours for me, but it will probably be another minute's worth of video for you guys. And I'll make sure that I've got my Grayscale finder to hand as well, just to show you that what I was talking about not long ago. But keep going if you're sort of drawing along with me, or you're working on another one of your pieces. Keep going, keep gradually adding the value, and I'll see you next time I pause to have a chat. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome back. As promised, I found out my Grayscale value finder. I did say earlier on in the video that I was going to show you the Grayscale value finder and the importance of it, and how your mind can actually play tricks on you when you're looking for values in your picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the reference in again. So as you can see here, we've got some very, very dark areas. Your Grayscale value finder is going to go from a value 1, which is pure black, all the way up to a white. And you've got your gradual increases up to that. So as I said to you earlier on in the video, this jacket here and the hair, if we try and find the value of this, we're sort of at a black. It's 100% black, that is. Now if I go back to my drawing here, you can see that the jacket that I've got is nowhere near 100% black. If we actually try and find the value that I'm at, I'd say we're sort of on about a value 4, maybe a 3. 3.5 value 4 or 5, 4.5. So I know I'm going to be able to bring the value of that jacket up. I'm not going to go to black. I don't like to go to black on anything, but it just shows you that what we think is dark, in reality we're not very dark at all. The other thing that I wanted to show you as well is, if we look at the two faces here, this face looks very, very, very much lighter than this face up here, and part of the reason why that is, the face is slightly lighter, but the big reason is this young lady's hair and veil and contrast with the black of the jacket there make this look lighter than this face up here, because this is contrasted with darkness. So we've got dark around this, we've got light around this, which is going to bring everything up lighter as well. So if we actually try and find the value of the lady's face, we're looking at a value 6. So this cheek area is a value 6. If we look at the value here, we're looking at a value 4, maybe 3.5 to 4. So we're not a long way off. We are slightly darker here than we are on the lady's face here, but we're not as far off as we would first imagine. So I know that I can go up to those sort of values. Now if I look at the values that we've got here, so we said that it was about a value 6. Well, I'm nowhere near a value 6. You can see how much darker this is than the face area here. I'm probably looking, I'm about a value 8, possibly even an 8.5. I'm in between the 8 and the 9 there. So I know I can go up a few more values, probably take this up to an HB. I don't necessarily need to go as dark as the reference, but this is a really handy piece of kit for you, just to satisfy your own mind really. When you think that you've gone dark enough or you've gone too dark, just bring this into the reference, find the value, come back onto yours, and you will surprise yourself quite often. So quite a decent piece of kit, comes on cardboard. I'm going to put a link down below on the video it's an Amazon link so that you can buy one of these. They're a few pounds if you're living in the UK. I'm not sure in dollars if you're in the States or wherever else you are in the world. Useful to have. Keep it in the pencil case or wherever you store your bits of equipment, and just have that just as peace of mind, because there are times when you're going to doubt yourself, doubt what your own mind's telling you, and this just brings it up. So you can see I'm nowhere near black with the jacket, so I can bring that up even further. Again, the hair, I'm nowhere near the same value. This hair's almost 100% black. What I've got to start with is, you know, somewhere about a value 6. So that was just a quickie. I thought I'd show you that as I mentioned it, but don't forget there's a link down below in the details of the video. So yeah, check that out if you haven't already got one. I'm going to time lapse the rest of it. I'm going to start working on the face over here. As always, I'm going to be stopping and starting, letting you know where I'm going with it, and I hopefully see you in about another 30 seconds of your time. Hey guys, just thought I'd quickly check in again with you. What I've decided I'm going to do now is I'm going to just start to bring out some of the hair in this guy here, because I think that once I get the darkness of the hair in, it's going to then dictate to me how dark I go on the face here. It's very difficult to get a good representation of how much more value I need to get in certain areas on the face, I feel, without getting some of this hair in. So I'm going to use a 2B pencil. And I'm just going to start by getting the general direction of the hair. It's not a hugely detailed photograph up in that region there. I can get a general idea of the direction, but what I'm doing is I'm just starting to pull the pencil towards me in the direction that the hair seems to be flowing in. I'm not trying to draw every single strand of hair, but I am trying to make sure that we don't get this smooth gradation that we get when we're doing the skin area here. So this is going to look a little bit more lined, but I just think that once I start to build this hair in, and I can find the darkness of the hair and probably look at going in towards the 4B, possibly even the 6B, it will then show me how much more value I need to add, maybe into the forehead here, how light I go in the highlight. So I thought that I'd just quickly check in just to show you the thought process. And I think every drawing that I do, there's no set guaranteed way of doing things. Quite often I do leave the hair till the last moment, simply because with hair I like to brush some of the graphite into different areas, and unfortunately when you do start to brush some of the value around, it does go into other areas of your work. But I think I personally need to just find some of this hair, some of the direction of the hair and some of the tone of this hair to help me with the rest of the drawing. So I'll time lapse the rest, but you can see what I'm doing. Every now and then I'm just going to brush some of the value of the hair around, just to give me that even coverage without leaving white specks everywhere. So I'll time lapse the next part. Hopefully you'll see the hair starting to take shape. See you soon. Hey there guys, got a massive lesson for all of you budding artists out there. This young man here decided, after he'd been into a bit of a cat fight outside, to go and sit on my latest drawing, and as you can see, he's ruined it. We've got blood, we've got hair, we've got all kinds of bits and bobs all over this. So about 16 hours in, my portrait of myself and my wife on our wedding day is ruined. Note to self, don't leave the drawing anywhere when the cat's inside. So, huge lesson. I can't believe this is ruined. I'm going to have to start all over again. I've also learned so much from the drawing anyway. There's a few areas that I wasn't 100% happy with. So I think that Mr. Oscar has allowed me to make a bit of a video that's going to remind myself and hopefully a few of you guys out there that these things happen. There's nothing we can do about it, and I'll have to crack on with a new one. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.